know how long I can stay out here. The ants are making a meal out of me. Yeah, to be so candid, I had already filmed this video about a week or so ago. I have this thing where I struggle where if I filmed the video in like a really bad headspace, like, sure, partially I think part of it is just like feeling vulnerable with like putting a certain version of myself out here on the internet for eyes to consume, especially when I don't really have an established audience, and so it just feels weird to just like give vulnerability that, you know, I don't want to say like doesn't feel earned, but that doesn't feel healthily developed. But the other part of it is that I will just spiral and struggle to be able to even have the bandwidth to edit the video. It's like I do not want to revisit that moment, that headspace. It's a lot easier for me to be able to just accept what it is and move on. So that being said, we're gonna give this another go. I'm still not in a perfect headspace, but I do feel like I'm a little bit more grounded. I've spent like the past hour literally just sitting under trees and trying to just find a sense of center, because I really, really need that right now. I've had yet another delay with trying to move to New York. Ended up getting really, really sick for a week. I think it was just a viral infection, and I'm doing a lot better now, but I mean, it was bad enough to where like I probably should have gone to the hospital and didn't. And I was, you know, laying in my bed or on the floor for like several days and like able to go to the bed, the bathroom, and the bath. The 3 B's, that's about it. Minimal eating in between and stuff. I mean, it was pretty horrific. And so I actually was potentially going to have an opportunity to go and pet sit for somebody and be able to be in New York. I would actually be there right now still, but it didn't feel right. I mean, you know, we're talking like I was ill enough to where I had to work my way up to be well enough to even just like drive to the grocery store to like pick up some stuff or whatever and be able to have food to eat for like a few days. It's hard because I feel like my energy has just completely depleted since then. Like I've already really been struggling with a sense of confidence with being able to make this move, and it's been like well known around my friends and community at this point that I hate being asked the question, what's the plan? Because with that question, it feels like there's a constant stream of obligations. The people pleaser in me comes out, the doubt comes out, I end up losing confidence and everything. And, you know, usually when people are asking what's the plan, they need to know for themselves that there is some sort of structure behind what I'm doing. Otherwise, there's this judgment of being irresponsible. How dare I go against the status quo? Even though, I mean, I don't know, isn't it the most like cliche thing ever to like be an artist moving to New York with like very little to no plan and figuring it all out? Like I don't know that it gets more cliche than that, if I'm being so for real right now. And even still, just kind of this air of how dare you have the audacity to be the type of person to do that sort of thing. A lot of the questioning has been like very well meaning, but when people find out that I don't have a job lined up, or they try to make all of these suggestions about like what a job should look like and stuff, and I'm resistant, it just feels like I'm having to babysit other people's emotions. And in the process, it's brought up a lot of my own insecurities and stuff. And so I can't even really blame it on like projections of others at this point. Like I've isolated myself enough to the point where if I'm not making the move, then it really is just a reflection of my own fears and insecurities and my lack of trust in things working out, which is a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard thing to face. And I'm just sitting and asking myself why. I'm trying to be gentle with myself through the process because I keep getting all of this feedback either through friends or through the algorithm of like, you know, your brain's just trying to keep you safe, like you just have to do it, blah 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 blah, you know, you're never going to be ready, all of this stuff. And I'm like, I appreciate that. I have done many a free fall in my life though, and been in survival mode the entire time, and then it makes it really hard to like actually enjoy the process sometimes because of it. I'm somebody who has struggled with chronic pain before, and I think that I just have a desire to be able to do this in a way where I'm in flow and it feels like an adventure, and it feels like a commitment to a new version of myself, and it feels expansive and all of that. And it can feel a little uncomfortable too. Like, it's not that everything has to feel perfectly in place, but like I want to have a regulated nervous system as I do it too, because when I don't, I end up getting really sick. I end up having weeks, sometimes months, where I end up having to be in bed. And I thought that when I got sick this time that it was a flare-up, and turned out, you know, to actually be like, I don't want to say actually be a sickness. It's not that chronic pain is not valid. It's just a different kind of sickness. I swear I am gonna have to go soon. These ants, I think they might actually literally be in my pants right now. I could sing a song about that. Anyway, I just know that that can be a slippery slope. And yesterday I had to stop asking what's wrong with me and why am I having so much hesitation with this move and why am I so scared. Like, I've literally already sold the car. I'm trying to get a remote job set up. I don't know if it's going to be my favorite thing in the entire world. I'm making moves. I'm trying. I'm taking small steps every single day. I'm really, really struggling with being able to actually pull the trigger and like buy the plane ticket. I like almost did last night, but I don't have a sublet set up, and like I have more people that I could potentially ask and everything, and I'm going to. I don't know why there has been so much hesitation, and I've been trying to, as of yesterday, honor the wisdom of my body and ask myself, why is my body working the way that it is? Like, what signals is it trying to tell me? Because I think there is something super valid to being able to like listen to one's intuition, and I do believe in a little bit of divine timing. You know, I think that sometimes like we do have to be willing to take the initiative and take charge. But when I ask myself like, why am I hesitating, I remind myself that I'm not really somebody who struggles that much with initiation when things feel right. I tend to be a very ambitious person. And so if I am having this much hesitation, I feel like there's probably a good reason for the pause, even if it is simply just the fact that like my body wants some insecurities or something to be acknowledged in order to be able to peacefully move forward. I don't know what the answer is yet. I'll say too, like I initially was going to make this video with this title being like, what if there is no plan, you know, like a month ago at least, because I had like a few days where I felt like this total sense of liberation of like, screw it, there's no plan, like that's the fun part, that's the adventure. Why are we letting all of these other voices have like the center stage? You know, it's irrelevant, let it go. It's not my responsibility to cater to other people's fears and insecurities. I have to live my own life for myself, right? That's all still true, but it would be very incomplete at this point. I don't know, for whatever reason I waited on making that video, and then I've had the other extreme, like when I last filmed this, where it just felt very doomy and gloomy and like no sense of optimism. And so I've like really been teeter-tottering between like these two really big extremes and just like very uncertain. Oh, there's a red bird over there. I wonder if it's a cardinal. I can't really tell. it's cool. I'm not gonna try to film it because it's too far away. Like it you wouldn't be able to see, but just trust me, it's cool. I don't know. I guess maybe to some extent this is a more honest video because I am holding this extreme of optimism and feeling a sense of calling and feeling a sense of like really wanting to follow my intuition and be in this flow state and like really trusting that there is a reason I am being called to this city and that things are going to work out. There is also the part of myself that is trying to do this. Like, yes, there's the pessimistic side or whatever, but I'm not even looking at it in such direct opposition as much as I'm like looking at the side of me that is hesitant, that's trying to take pause, that is trying to do things in a way that is healthy. Because I think one of my, I know one of my biggest fears about taking the initiative to move to a city like New York is that it is a place that is notorious for being really expensive and for people having to hustle and grind in order to be able to make things work. I'm no stranger to that whatsoever, but I also know my patterns, I know my cycle, and I know the extreme price that I end up paying by the time that I come to that end of that cycle. And I really, to some degree, am experiencing that burnout and that exhaustion right now because I spent the first 3 months of this year doing very big projects each month, a lot of things that I had never done before, which is like so cool to say on paper. It made it really hard to be able to be present and fully enjoy every single one of the things. And listen, that's not something that you can predict, and you got to just kind of take the slice of happiness that comes with life as each of these adventures like come up. I think that to some degree I value a sense of like peace and just a sense of like having, I don't know, some kind of reclamation with my energy as I move forward. Like I'm just really tired of being burnt out. I really overdid the overgiving when I started looking at things financially, and when I realized how little I made and I compared the amount of hours that I put into various things. And it's not just one area, like it was multiple things. I was like, this is honestly horrifying and makes me feel really like sick to my stomach that I overexerted my energy that much, and it's left me with resentments, and not towards anybody in particular. Like I understand that that's like a thing that I just have to take like personal responsibility for. I lost my train of thought. Essentially, I was really disappointed when I realized how little money I was making and how much I was really pouring my heart and soul into things, and how much I was really struggling just to be able to get by with just like the basics, the bare necessities, which I don't think is a unique experience at this moment in time, unfortunately. With the way our economy is and late stage capitalism and all this stuff, like I think that is a very common experience for a lot of people in America. I don't want to be in this position of like just giving all of my energy and having very little left for me at the end of the day, and then going through these cycles of like getting sick and stuff because of it at the end. And so I'm just asking myself, I'm like, how do we do this really big thing, and how do we move forth in a way in which like I can still remain ambitious, I can still have these really big grand opportunities. Like I'm not afraid of working hard, but like I need to really be receiving as much as I'm putting out this time, you know what I'm saying? And I don't really know what that looks like, and maybe to some degree I've never really fully experience that. I grew up with not really having a whole lot of money and having to be super reliant on other people for favors and whatnot. And while I can kind of sit here and say, like, I've always had my needs met and things have always worked out, it's also come with a sense of obligation that I owe my energy in ways that I maybe wouldn't have felt like I had to give it had I been able to, you know, just afford to be able to like do the things I needed to do myself. It's an unbalanced like power dynamic. And I've talked to some other friends who have had similar upbringings and have had similar experiences, and it's been quite a journey to unlearn some of that and to figure out how to have personal boundaries and still be in community and still have needs met and still be able to be generous, because it's not an either or thing. It really truly is just like about balance. I don't know what that looks like at this moment in time, but I think that maybe I struggle with asking for help for fear that I'm going to find myself in another situation in which I feel obligated to extend my energy past like its capacity. So I have some texts that I think I need to send out today, because I think that, you know, if people know like that I'm serious and I'm like, hey, like I'm essentially like ready to make the move, like I just need a sublet, I just need a place to stay, I just need to literally have like the first month figured out or something, then I can figure out the rest from there, you know what I'm saying? And you know, I don't think I can like make this video with at least sharing another fun little story that I had from an Uber ride a couple months back. My car broke like on my birthday of all days, which was really fun. So it was all the way back in February. So I've been without a car for multiple months now. Had to do like the Phoenix bus system, which by the way is absolute garbage. The fact that that is a main mode of transportation for a lot of working people and families is so unreal to me. Like I had to be inconvenienced for like a month and a half being over there. The amount of times that buses straight up wouldn't come, or they'd come like a half hour later than like what they said and everything. It's a miracle that people living there are able to figure out how to get back and forth to work on time. But that's a whole nother political rant. In the midst of going through that experience, I was taking a lot of Ubers when I had to, and I ended up getting into this conversation with this woman, and it was really impactful. I asked her when, you know, towards the beginning of the conversation, I was like, oh, like, what do you do? And she's like, well, I mean, this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I could tell that she was really unenthusiastic and unhappy with having to do the work that she was doing. And I'm like, oh, okay, like what else do you do though? And she started to let her guard down a little bit, and she told me that she was in recovery, and she told me that she had an Etsy shop and an Instagram and stuff, and it was called The Movement, and it was all about, you know, trying to recover out loud, right? Because a lot of people who are going on a sobriety journey end up having a sense of shame and feeling like they have to be silenced and stuff like that, because a lot of, you know, how society will treat a lot of people recovering from addiction and et cetera, right? And so she's telling me about this, and she starts to get excited, but the conversation kind of sways back, and she's like, I mean, but here I am having to drive, and I don't know, I'll drive this car every day for the rest of my life if I have to. Trying to put on the mask so that way I don't judge her. And I told her, I'm like, you know, the funny thing is like I just had an entire year where every single month I ended up having some really big financial catastrophe. And every single time I kept thinking to myself, oh, well, things will be easier once I get to this month. Oh, well, you know, I'll be able to relax once I get to, and it never happened. The things kept happening. I mean, multiple months of the car needing a couple hundred, $200s of dollars worth of work, emergency vet visit, like you name it. Like, and that ended up actually like being way less expensive than like what it should have been. They really helped me out, but that's again like a whole nother story or whatever. But I think I've made a video about some of the things that happened. Like, I think I even went through like the breakdown of like, January was this, February was this, March was this. Oh yeah, computer broke, like had to replace that. Like, you name it. The idea of saving money, not possible. You know, I know Bob the Boomer wants to really rat on my generation, be like, well, if you didn't get avocado toast and lattes and blah blah blah, you'd have enough money for a house. And I'm like, Bob the Boomer, listen, the one thing that you have right about me is that I don't want to work. Thank you for being the only person who understands that. And I hate to break it to you, but sometimes life is not as clean as we try to make it. I had to experience that in real time. I told her, I was like, it was really frustrating and it was really hard. However, there always was something to happen at the last minute to where it worked out. I didn't always know how it was going to be that way, but you know, I told her, I'm like, when I went to the vet, you know, they covered as many of the costs as possible. They made me pay for one medication, and then they had me go to a human pharmacy the next day, so that way the medication would be less expensive. And then they even ended up giving me a discount and stuff on the medication, so I didn't have to pay as much when I got to the human pharmacy. I had to go do a clinical visit afterwards, and that clinic ended up having a special to where that month new customers had a free inspection. Is a weird word. You know what I'm trying to say. There's a better word for it. Inspect the cat. I don't we'll just say a free appointment. And so basically I still just then had to pay for more medication. Poor cat was like on 6 things of like meds. Like, it was a constant stream of medication. She really was sick of it, but we got through it. There's countless other things in which, like, you know, just ways in which things worked out. If you move in the direction of where you feel called, it will work out some way, somehow. And she's like, you know, you've got it right. And she shared a lot more about her story, personal things that I won't get into because I'm gonna link her stuff below, so that way you can go and give her a follow and show her some support, some love on her Instagram page or her Etsy shop. She shared that she had experiences in which she was provided for and didn't expect it to work out in that way. And then she shared with me that she really had a strong desire to travel, essentially. And I'm like, oh, like, are you gonna do like the whole like van life sort of thing? Like, just live out of your car or something like that? And she's like, I could, or I could sell the car as well. And I was like, what, really? And she's like, yeah, I kind of just want to walk. And I'm like, okay, like, I kind of don't want to be tied down by anything. Like, I kind of just want to get out and walk. And I'm like, girl, whatever you got to do, if that's like what you want to do. And I asked her, I'm like, did you hear about the monks that were just like in the United States? She's like, no, I didn't, or whatever. She had told me about some other woman who had written a book who had done like a very similar type of journey. And I was like, okay, well, when they do the walk, it's kind of a bittersweet thing because it usually means that there's a lot of stressful things happening in the world, and they're doing the walk as a reminder and a call to peace. So in some ways it kind of sends off alarm bells, but it also is like a really beautiful thing. there's this group of monks that will do a peace walk, and they just did it across the United States, and they carry very little with them, and people know when they're going to be coming to certain cities and stuff, and they'll provide things for them. Like there was a kid that provided like chapstick. They'll, you know, people provide food, medical care, like all the things that you can imagine. But they do this walk trusting that all of the resources will come to them when they need it. And she's like, that's the thing that I want to do. And I said, what's stopping you? And she's like, you know what? Like, that's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know what's stopping me. My, you know, lease is up by such and such time. I can sell the car, I can do this. And she's going through the planning process, and she's figuring all of this out for herself. You know, by the end of the car ride, she's really excited. And she's like, all right, like, you're gonna have to follow me on Instagram, because like, you're gonna need to see when I finally start to do this. And I'm like, okay, bet, like, let's see it, you know. And she wishes me luck in New York and everything. I told this story to one of my coworkers, and you know, she shared with me, because she's asking for the updates on a regular basis. She's like, what's going on? Like, how are you doing with the progress and everything? And I'm like going through all the ins and outs of like what's coming up and everything, and all of the various challenges that ended up happening along the way on this journey of trying to figure out how the hell I'm gonna get there and everything. And we'd have like these weekly check-ins, and she shared with me, she's like, you know, many years ago I got a divorce, and she's like, and if I had waited to have everything figured out before I went and talked to my ex-husband, I don't know that I would have done it. She was like, there was just one day when I just went into the living room and I just talked to him, and I was just like, this is what I want a divorce. I gotta get out. And she's like, everything fell into place, everything worked out when I did that. So we'd have these conversations, but towards the end, one of my last days there, she's like, you know, I can't stop thinking about that story that you told me about the Uber driver. It's the part that gets me teary. You know, it means so much more hearing a message like this coming from you. She's like, because you're going through it too. You're not just saying this stuff for the sake of having something fluffy to say, you know, like, you're speaking from wisdom, you're speaking from experience. Like, you are in the midst of taking a leap of faith and trying to make this new life happen for yourself. And I'm like, yeah, you know. And she just told me that the message would resonate so much more because of that. That's why I want to come on here and share it. And I'm still trying to be gentle with myself in the process, and I'm still like, you know, another part of it is that I have a performance still in Arizona in a few weeks, and so I can't leave until after that anyway. But yeah, I know I'm gonna figure it out. I know I have to. This city has been calling to me for years now, and I didn't really realize that this was the particular city that had been calling to me fully until just like a few months ago. There are a lot of other times in which I felt distracted, because I've lived in Berlin before too. So it's not even like I've never done this before, but maybe that also brings up fear, just because like my mental health ended up getting really, really bad over there. And so I think there's part of me that's just like afraid of being away from my support system and like going through something like that again. But I also have to remind myself that like I'm a different person now than I was at 22. It's literally 10 years later, and like I can make different choices like with that wisdom. I know that there's like so much adventure out there for me, and you know, I don't have to be defined by like my hardship. I can use it to like alchemize the energy and continue to move forward. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't have a lot of fear around this. Like, we really are doing this on faith, hope, and a prayer. And I just like really hope that wherever I land and whatever I end up doing, that I can feel some sense of like still really being anchored in who I am, because it's just been my experience that when I've had these really big life pivots, I've had jobs that have like absolutely sucked the soul out of me. It's always been juxtaposed with really, really hard things. And so I think maybe part of me is like afraid to say yes to life and to try to do this really big adventure, because I'm like, what's the cost going to be that's going to come along with it? What kind of hardship am I going to have to face if I choose to make this kind of decision? And of course, there's no way of knowing. And that's the part where I have to like release control. So stay tuned. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm just trying to honor what my body needs, and I'm trying to do so in a way that is gentle and still in a way that is moving forward and committed. I just want to be sure-footed, you know? So stay tuned. We'll figure this out together, won't we?